All right. Hello, everyone. And today we are going to discuss the topic of what steps to take to move our cases quickly or why that matters for your recovery. Welcome to another segment of Live with Mitch, brought to you by Proner and Proner, a law firm with a global presence and expertise that feels local and personal. I'm your host, Mel Maguia. Today, we're going to sit down with the expert himself, Mitch Proner, a personal injury attorney with over 30 years of experience here to answer your questions and share his insights you'll find useful in the personal injury world. And remember, all consultations are free and confidential. Reach us at any time at 1-800-321-1234. How you doing, Mitch?
Doing well, doing well.
Excellent.
Got a lot going on. It's clients coming into the office, preparing for depositions. Got a case coming up for trial later on this month. So there's a lot going on, as always. I enjoy it.
Definitely, definitely. Well, let's dive into it. I know this one, I mean, maybe it could be reworded better in terms of the title and topic. Do you have probably a better angle that we can
I
approach
think the
this?
topic is great. It's how cases move so quickly. So here's the story.
Yeah.
There's two things that could happen when a client brings a claim to a law office. Some firms, and I've seen it repeatedly, they'll sit back and see how the case develops. And if it turns out that the treatment is extensive, more than they anticipated, they'll get to work. That's not really ethical, in my opinion, because every client is entitled to zealous representation. Law students learn that in law school, that it's your ethical obligation to provide zealous representation. That doesn't mean you make up facts.
Okay.
That doesn't mean you make up injuries. But it does mean you pursue your client's rights zealously. So immediately in my office, what we do is within 24 hours, we're getting to work. We're investigating possible defendants. We're identifying possible defendants because sometimes immediately the defendants might not be readily apparent. For example, somebody's injured at a construction site or there's a multiple vehicle collision. They might not have all the companies working at the construction site, or the client might not have the owners of all the vehicles in the collision. They might have been taken away in an ambulance and left it to the police to do that. And the police might not be releasing the report because sometimes with serious injuries, they do an accident reconstruction, and that reconstruction can take time, and that report might not be ready. What we do is we immediately begin our investigation. We look for surveillance videos. We send out investigators. We'll have the clients go to the accident scene with our investigators, and we could do that repeatedly. On top of that, we begin to get in touch with the insurance carriers. We get in touch with their claims adjusters. We find out how much coverage there is, who are the possible defendants. We get in touch with our clients. We find out their medical needs. We find out if they're visiting doctors, what doctors they're seeing, and we stay in touch with them during the process to make sure the medical records come in so we can present them to a carrier so we get the claim established. Not everybody gets to work so aggressively initially, but every client is entitled to that type of representation. When you give your clients that type of service, the cases tend to move quicker. There are a lot of times where I'll either get referred a case from another firm or a client is looking to change attorneys and I'll look at their claim. And a lot of times cases get abandoned.
Mm.
Sometimes they're abandoned because the attorneys committed malpractice.
Wow.
Other times it's just neglect. And sometimes firms are too busy to have every attorney with a fair caseload, and they might overwork their associates and tell them to focus on select cases and not all of them. That's not an ethical obligation. Ethical obligation is to represent all your clients. When a client signs a retainer agreement, they're entitled to zealous representation. Naturally, some cases can take longer than others. but every case is going to take longer if your attorney's not working.
Yeah. Now, you had mentioned something about substitutions. I mean, um, if that other law firm hadn't done the work, we
Well,
we pick up from where they left off. For those who may not know what that is.
well, a substitution is when somebody changes counsels. Now, every client has a right to change attorneys. If you watch the news, you hear about Donald Trump firing his attorneys, getting new attorneys. Everybody has the right to new attorneys
Right.
if they want them. In the personal injury world, typically, you don't pay for your attorneys up front. The attorney gets a percentage at the end. In New York, that's a third. In Florida, that's 40%. You give up a piece of your recovery to have the attorney work. Now, if you change attorneys, the second attorney pays the first attorney.
Mm,
It comes out of the third, so you don't pay more money for a new attorney,
that's good to know.
but the attorneys have to split the fees. Now, sometimes a client will come to my office and they have good reason to want to change attorneys, but I look at the file and I see it's all messed up and I don't want it. Other times I might look at it and say, this is a good case. I can help them out. Now, there are bad reasons to look for attorneys too. And maybe your case is not that good a case. And
Right.
you just say, I want a new attorney because they tell me there's only a limited policy in New York that's 25,000, and I want to get a new attorney, so maybe they'll get me more money, more than 25,000. New attorneys might not be able to get more than the existing policy, and that's typically a problem on some cases.
Right.
But other times, your reasoning to get an attorney is a good one. Another time, maybe you've gotten. Another time, it's a bad reason. Is maybe you've gotten loans against your case, and the lending companies, which is advanced case funding, says they're not going to lend you any more money. So you think if you switch attorneys, you'll get more funding.
Right.
Generally, once one company reaches a limit, the other companies have their hands tied too, because that company has to be paid off by the subsequent companies. So there's bad reasons, and also it's never a good idea to lie to your second attorneys to try and get them to take a case after your first attorneys have given you bad news.
No, Mitch, I just want to circle back really quick. In terms of like tracking your case, what is the best way for a client to, track their progress and to stay informed about the movement on their case?
Any one of my clients can come into my office, and I've got a big screen in my office.
He does.
And I can show my clients on a big screen, this is where your case is in the courts. This is the work we've been doing. And I could show them week after week, month after month, that we're actually doing work on their files. I can show them the work. Now, any client has the right to come in. Some clients, they say, oh, I want to change attorneys because I didn't hear from my attorney for 2 years.
Wow.
You got to set up an appointment and go in to see your attorney. It's incumbent upon you to know what's going on with your case, as much as your attorney has an ethical obligation to keep you informed.
Right.
If you feel your attorney's not keeping you informed, go into their office and see what they're doing.
And that's what's been great. I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
And if your attorney can't show you week after week the work he's doing on your file, and he just says to you, no, don't worry, everything's good, well, then you better worry.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say that's one thing I've witnessed here with my own eyes is just how the type of communication you offer your clients, like mentioning in before, you've done, big cases before, but you still treat everyone with, with fair respect. And like Mitch has said before, he'll give out his personal cell phone number, which is amazing.
Yeah, so I've handled some of the largest cases in the world. I was lead counsel for the victims of the Costa Concordia shipwreck off the coast of Italy, I had clients all over the world. It was the largest passenger shipwreck since the Titanic. And I was lead counsel for the victims, represent people from Venezuela to South Korea, and all of Europe and the United States. And I also do bike accidents and car accidents here in New York. So I do it all. And I do give my clients my cell phone.
He sure does. He sure does. You've probably, if you've been watching in the past, you probably heard that little roar of a motorcycle. That's Mitch's phone right there. It's a great ringtone, by the way. All right. Well, Mitch, thank you for taking this time. I know you have a busy day today, so I appreciate it, and I'm sure your listeners do appreciate it also. So there you have it, folks, straight from the expert himself, Mitch Proner. And that'll wrap it up for now. Thank you for taking the time to tune in, whether it's on our podcast or video broadcast. We really do appreciate it. And remember, you can reach us 24/7 at 1-800-321-1234, where all consultations are free and confidential. And if you haven't yet, please follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and of course, YouTube. Like, share, and subscribe to get the latest updates. Now, before we go, Mitch, do you have anything else you want to add?
Yeah. Typically, it's in your interest not to wait to get an attorney, because the insurance carriers, they have attorneys, and they've got investigators working against your interests. So get an attorney right away, and then make sure the attorney gets to work. And then you could worry about your health, which is the most important thing.
There you go.
That's it. Thanks, Mel.
All right. Thanks again, Mitch. You too. And thank you all again for checking us out. I know I learned a lot, and I hope you did all too. We'll see you next time. Thank you again, Mitch.